Resuming debate, the Honourable Member for Vimy.
Monsieur le Président.
Mr. Speaker, it's with great pleasure that I rise in this debate today to speak to motion M105, moved by my honourable colleague from Humber River, Black Creek, that in light that we consolidate our efforts to fight against ALS. ALS is a motoneural and fatal illness that causes the destruction of neurons that affect voluntary muscles. This is a horrible disease, hard to imagine. It is 1,000 times worse to have to live through it. 90 to 95% of cases, the cause of this illness is unknown, and there is no known treatment that allows to cure it. This generally develops very quickly. We have some financial abilities, scientific and technological, that are necessary to fund and implement research activities that will lead to revolutionary discoveries. Over the last 40 years, we have seen the eradication of many infectious diseases in the world, and we are working now on the possibility of eradicating 4 others. In fact, smallpox has now really disappeared from the surface of the earth, and this is one of the greatest medical exploits and world or global coordination that has ever been achieved. Furthermore, the United Nations announced on the 14th of October 2010 that mad cow disease, which was another viral disease affecting cows and other ruminants, had been completely eradicated thanks to human initiatives. The 4 other illnesses that we have seen eradicated were polio and malaria, and we could see these disappear during our lifetime or during the lifetime of our children. This global attempt is not a small affair. It requires time, money, and dedication. But above all, it is necessary. We have the tools to put an end to these diseases that cause the deaths of so many people. I was very happy to learn that Canada was joining the MINE project, a multinational effort that is based on, uses DNA to try to find genetic connections and bring hope to people affected by these diseases. This is a step in the right direction, but we must do a lot more. Only 62.5 thousand DNA profiles have been collected in Canada, which represents 7% of our goal. Today, I support my colleague from Humber River, Black Creek, to ask the government to recommit to finding a remedy and a cure for ALS. About 1,000 people have this illness, and 1,000 more are diagnosed every year. At least 200,000 people in the world have been affected by this illness. That might look like a small number if we compare it to other infectious diseases, but it's not because it is not so widespread. It's because 80% of the people affected by ALS die between 2 and 5 years after their diagnosis.
When the degenerative process starts, people know that their life will be shortened. The cycle is difficult, it's incurable, and there is no treatment. However, we saw our dear friend, the Honorable Maurice Bélanger, succumb to this disease at a very alarming pace. The member for Oakville, North Burlington, spoke to the House to pay his respects to Kim Robertson, who also died of this disease. It deserves our very serious consideration, as is the case for many issues brought to the House. The cost is always a factor. How much will it cost? taxpayers and people with ALS. While I can't answer the first question, I can provide some facts on the second. The cost for people affected by ALS and their families ranges between $150,000 and $250,000. Those costs are related to the equipment required and to the fact that care is required and many family members must stop working. Treatment is often sought outside of the hospitals, and so the patient needs to count on assistance for that. We saw how the Ice Bucket Challenge was successful in making people aware of this disease. In Canada, some $20 million have been invested over the past 2 years into research on ALS, thanks to the funds gathered up during that event. The Brain Canada Foundation provided assistance alongside Health Canada. This is a very important issue. People want research to be funded and for us to find a solution. In Canada, research funding for ALS is between $1.5 and $2 million. That is simply not enough for coming up with a treatment that will enable people to deal with this fatal disease. Canada has always been a leader when it comes to scientific research and in technology. If we use our resources and human capital in this area in order to achieve sustainable and long-term development, imagine what we will be able to accomplish for Canadians and for the global fight against ALS, to come up with preventive strategies as well. Imagine how we would alleviate the financial burden for the healthcare system and for patients, and think about the relief it will provide for the families who simply watch their loved one fade. This is an objective, something that can be achieved more quickly than we think. Let's commit to a future where our children or grandchildren will learn one day that there's been a medical breakthrough and it's possible to cure ALS. I'd like to quote a university professor from Simon Fraser University who is a president of the Committee for ALS and a member of the board at another organization.
ALS research and care for over 25 years, I have seen the evolution of our understanding and ability to treat this disease since the beginning of the genetic era. Discoveries of the last few years, combined with recent technological advancement, make this unprecedented time where we can now conceive a day when ALS is a treatable disease, but reaching that point, we will still take many years without some funding beyond grassroots fundraising. I'm certain that an investment by the federal government at this critical time will yield impactful results that will accelerate our ability to reach this amazing goal. Et je crois qu'il a raison.
And I believe that he is right. By reaffirming our resolution, we can make ALS a disease of the past. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.